Hi, and welcome again to another webisode, whichever you want to call it, vlog of um, Voices of Chronic Pain, and I am but one of millions of them. And I am Donna Gorton, and I want to welcome you. If you haven't yet, if you could please like and subscribe the video below, and if you like it after I get done, please leave a comment and any feedback you might have or any future topics you'd like me to cover. It would be greatly appreciated. So today I wanted to talk about some of the really ignorant, stupid things that we encounter that people say to us, well-meaning, and they're speaking from their frame of reference and only trying to help. However, they're horrible and they come across really bad. Yesterday I was talking to my aunt, who would probably kill me if she knew I was putting this in a video, but I know she's never going to watch it, so yeah. I told her I was doing this and she had no interest in it, but so she's one of those people. She has some chronic pain herself. She has osteoarthritis in her back and so forth, but it's, she herself will even say it's nowhere near the level of pain I deal with. But she still has no interest in my, I guess, how vocal I am and willing to discuss it. Because to me, no topic should be taboo, and there should never be a pink elephant in a room, anywhere, in any arena. And maybe it harkens back to my days of having been a caseworker for my county for years and having to be so direct with people and dealing with the tough subjects, and learning how to do so, I guess. However, I'm a big mouth and I'm opinionated, and that's okay. So yeah, yesterday I was, for as a good example to start out with, I was discussing with her how, and I'm gonna be blunt because I am me. Let me start over. For many years ago, growing up, I was sexually abused by a family member from as far back as I can remember, so probably at least 3 years old, until the age of 14. And actually, more than one family member tried. However, the mean perpetrator, I ended up having severe chronic bladder infections. And many years later, during my career as a caseworker mainly, and all the trainings I had in child abuse and sex abuse, and being certified as a forensic interviewer for children who have been abused, I learned that that's one of the biggest red flags for sex abuse in children and girls. However, it ended up taking a 2-year maintenance dose of antibiotics to kick those in me. But as a result, I was left with a lot of bladder damage, frequency, urgency to go. Can't hold it, can't tell always how much I have to go. I can get dehydrated easily because of that. And so when I gotta go, I gotta go. There's like no wait time. And it's been that way since I was a little girl. And because of that, I actually cannot remember the last time I fully slept through the night. Like, a full 6 to 8 hours like most people get. Especially, little kids growing up. I don't remember when that stopped, if I ever really did it, because of that. I'm always having to get up at least once in the night to go to the bathroom. Never seems to matter how little I drink. I've tried playing around with that, and that just doesn't seem to change it either. So, at any rate, with the fibromyalgia, that's common for sleep deprivation and exhaustion, fatigue issues, because we don't stay in REM sleep as long as other people to have that be a beneficial effect. So as a result, we end up walking around completely wiped out and exhausted all the time because of that. Mine is worsened because I don't sleep longer than, on average, an hour and a half to 2 hours at a time before I have to. If pain doesn't wake me, then I have to get up to pee. And, I'll be honest, again, I have a commode in my room, which helps greatly. So because my house has one bathroom, and of course it's on the other side of the house with, they were drunk when they built it, I think, and they put the only bathroom off the kitchen instead of back near the bedrooms. So, it would always be a mad dash to get across the house in the middle of the night, half awake. And I also have orthostatic hypotension, which means that if I stand up too quick after laying down or whatever, my blood pressure bottoms out and I get wicked dizzy. So it's really good if I can sit up for at least a couple seconds to get my bearings and my feet under me before I jump up. Not always possible, even with the commode in my room. There's times where even even though the commode is eh, 8 to 10 steps max from my bed, I barely can make it there sometimes before I start to go, because once it starts, I can't stop it, and I don't have that controlling, Kegel exercises and all that junk that ever helps. It never did help. The damage is done. So, I was discussing that I had happened to take a nap, and for the first time in, I don't remember the last time, I slept for like 4 hours straight, which that's unheard of for me. That just doesn't happen ever. And on average, again, a long sleep period for me is if I hit 3 hours. That's like whoo, and that happens like once a month, if that. That just is so rare. So to go 4 hours is just extreme. And I did yesterday, and of course because of the fibro, you don't wake up feeling refreshed and ready to go from that. It takes forever to wake up. And usually a good solid dose of caffeine to be functional and so forth. And, so not long after I got up, I had all these people messaging me, which drives me crazy. But they do. 2 or 3 people at once. It always seems to be around the same time when it's not the most convenient. And I always feel obligated. It's to me, like a phone call. I better, I have to not leave them waiting forever and answer them so they don't worry. So, I had said to her how I was, just got up and oh my gosh, I slept 4 hours. And we started talking about, I wouldn't classify myself as incontinent per se, but my inability to sleep that long, typically. And her answer is, where depends. Now, I'm 45 years old, and I understand that there are people who have to. I get that. But I have lost so much in my life as far as abilities, physicality, things I used to be able to do and be superwoman, like most women used to be, from the 80s and 90s, of do it all and have it all, and you can have it all. And I was that person. I worked full time. I had a small daughter I took care of as a single mom by myself, and my mom was disabled, so I took care of her, and, working full-time hours, and going to college by myself full-time, and working full-time. Looking back, I have no idea how I did all that, but I did, and I've lost the ability to do that level of things, and so I will fully admit and take responsibility. It is a pride thing, pure pride thing, that I don't want to have to go there, to wearing pads and so forth, and, yes, there's leakage issues or whatever. I told you I was going to be blunt, not to be gross, but, it's there. That's a reality for many women, especially. But men have the same issues. And, so I to have to take that next leap, and maybe there's going to come a day where I do have no choice, and I have to take that step. But as of right now, I'm not there yet. I'm not willing to throw in that towel. And, she's like, oh, well, it would help you sleep through the night. And I tried explaining how, the urge to have to urinate is an involuntary thing from, in muscle memory, essentially, from your brain to your bladder and vice versa. It's not something you pick and choose and can control. You get your bladder sends the messages to your brain pops you awake from unconsciousness, and you have to go. And that's something, obviously that's in place from the time you're 2 to 3 years old onward. So for 43 years now, that's what's been happening, and that's how it works. And I said, that's not going to change that. If I wore Depends or diapers to bed, it wouldn't still stop me from being woke up. And hence, the exhaustion and, that would continue, because I'd still wake up having to go. Except then I'd feel worse because I'm, peeing myself and laying in it instead of getting up and cleaning up or whatever, or worried that I leaked in the bed and have to change the sheets and whatever. So I was like, yeah, bad idea, not going to work. And she's just like, well, it would still prevent you from having to get up. No, it really kind of wouldn't, because of the same fact, what I just stated, that, I would still be concerned with those things, and knowing myself, I would still get up to check, As long as I can get up out of bed by myself, I would. So, I just was saying how that's really not a great idea. And she's so quick to pass judgment that it's a pride thing with me and only a pride thing. And there's, well, I'm just trying to help. And sure, you mean well, but it doesn't come out. And then, she finally ended the conversation because she doesn't like discussing those things for too long by saying, well, I've never known anybody who has fibromyalgia like you do. Okay, first of all, how many people with fibro do you know? And know as well as you know me, because I'm so willing to discuss my symptoms and don't feel a need to hide it. And no, that's not all I talk about, but most of us, we do talk about it because it has taken over our lives. It is such a huge part of our lives. We have no say in the pain. We have no say in the symptoms we experience. And to keep all that inside, it's not normal or healthy to do so. I think everybody kind of should have some place or somewhere to talk about those things. And to see, hey, is this normal that I'm experiencing this? Because it's not like any diagnosis we get that they hand you a manual when you get it saying, hey, you're diagnosed with degenerative disc disease in your back. Here's a book that says, what is wrong and what you can expect. You don't get that. Same thing with fibro or any other multiple sclerosis. You name the diagnosis that causes chronic pain, or you don't get the manual. Excuse me. Allergies are bad here in New York this time of year. So yeah, they just kind of give you the diagnosis, pat you on the head, and sends you out the door, and say, "Oh yes, this symptom and what you've been experiencing is da 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 da." But that's it. You're left on your own. I didn't personally know or learn virtually, I would say at least 90% of my information about fibromyalgia didn't come until I started a support group on Facebook. And for those who may be interested, it's called Fibromyalgia This Sucks. And you are more than welcome to message me about joining if you are interested. It's a small group, and we're like a family in there because it's smaller. So no message goes unanswered or gets lost in the stream. And the support is amazing because there's, only a handful of active members who don't just troll and read stuff, which is fine. That's all some people want, is to, see what goes by, and they'll say it helps them. That works for them. Okay, beautiful. They're gaining something from it, and that's cool. But there's a handful of active members who do respond to everything, offer support and love for everything, and no judgment, because I won't tolerate that in my group. So anyway, it's there if people are interested. Again, it's called Fibromyalgia This Sucks. So that aside, like I said, there's just where people. I've even had somebody once say to me, "Are you really disabled, or are you just kind of trying to bilk the system?" People apparently don't understand how hard it is to gain that, what kind of a fight that is to prove you're disabled when it comes to chronic pain. It's horrible. Like my lawyer had said when I was going through it, my case was unique because the average person who applies, maybe a laborer, may not have finished high school, carpenter, masonry, whatever, and that's their trade, and that's, all they can do. But I had a college education, and I had, experience in the field in a couple different arenas that I used to be able to do, so that had to be looked at, and blah, blah, blah. But that aside, it still took a year and a half of no income, of relying on services from my county for help, of my house going into foreclosure, of nearly having my car repossessed, of not being able to provide Christmas gifts or birthday gifts to my daughter that year. Horrible, horrible, horrible. And it's like, would anybody voluntarily go through that if they had a choice? I was so proud of my job and what I used to do, and I was my job. I had one of my higher echelon supervisors say to me once, Donna, you are not a caseworker. Caseworker is the job you do, but you yourself are not a caseworker. And to me, I never looked at it that like it was just a job I went through and did. I gave it my all, and to me, if after the literally years of training I had in that area in the field, and every single year I would have to do to maintain my position, how could I just shut that off when I went home at night if I saw a child ended up being abused or in an abusive situation or something, being neglected. Could I just, walk away from that and turn a blind eye to that? I couldn't, because it was an ethical thing to me. So yeah, I kind of was my job, and it integrated everything that I had been taught to do and I love to do. And so, I was my job. And that was gone. And I had a couple jobs after I stopped being a caseworker, but it was still kind of in the same arena. And although, not exact, and I wasn't as happy, but it was a job. I still count the years I was a caseworker. That was a job I worked at the longest and was my happiest in, was the most educating for me, as far as, everything I gained from it. And so miss it the most. And I was school-based, working with little kids and stuff, and loved it. But anyway, who would choose to go through all that and lose all that just to bilk the system? Sure, there are and have been those people out there, but it's so hard to even get approval for that unless you're overtly in a wheelchair or, severely mentally retarded, or, you have other mental disabilities or physical disabilities that are so severe, you don't automatically get approved, you automatically get denied. And then you have to appeal, and that, the appeal process usually takes at least another year, and it takes at least 6 months for the first denial to go through. And some people fight longer than that, and it's horrible, and, you have no insurance a lot of times, depending what state you live in. And it's, that's not a situation you would choose. But again, these people, they may mean well, but they don't think before they speak. But again, I think it harkens back to people only think or speak or, offer advice and whatever based on their own experience and perspective on what they may have experienced up to that point in their lives. And they've never experienced anything like what we live with. So, at any rate, to kind of wind down and, wrap this up, because I have to get in the shower and I have to do dishes and all that stuff. If, again, there is a topic you'd like to have me cover, please, by all means, write it down in the comments section. I am more than open to feedback, and I will answer you. And if any of you may want to be interviewed, I can do a Skype interview and record it and post it on here. I guess my whole goal with this is to gain exposure, understanding, and a place for people to be like, oh my God, yes, holy cow. Even though that may not be my diagnosis, they're dealing with the same thing I am, and have it be a place that people can go and give voice to that, hence Voices of Chronic Pain. So thank you for listening to me, and please again like and subscribe to my channel, and like the video, and post any comments you may have. And until next time, this is Donna Gorton signing off. Please stay well, be well, and try to be happy. Bye.